Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and join me today is Brush to discuss the Nottingham Forest game. We're going to look at the contract situation of a few players, including Raphael Varane, and also we'll take a look at the Ineos ownership news in a bit more detail today, as every day there seems to be new stories regarding this. And obviously, Sir Dave Brailsford has been at the last two games, even and been at the training ground yesterday, I believe. So, monitoring United at close quarters now, and doing a general audit of the club. But before we get going, Happy New Year, everybody, and Happy New Year to you, Brush.
Yeah, happy New Year, bro. Happy New Year.
It's not such a great 2023 for Manchester United, other than winning the League Cup. But things have really spiraled out of control since the beginning of this season, and we're hoping that 2024 will bring us more joy. I don't suspect that's going to happen immediately. It's going to take time for this to turn around, and a lot of big decisions need to be made. But before we get into that, let's take a look back at the Forest game, unfortunately, which was another abysmal performance by Manchester United, losing the game 2-1. Um, what was even worse about it is that at one each, we were in the ascendancy, and I thought, "Oh, we could actually win this game after playing so poorly." But then a dummy by Bruno Fernandes led to Forest counter attack and them scoring, and perhaps a player who should have been sent off scoring the winner. So, what was your overall thoughts on the game then, Brush?
Well, listen, it's not only United that have been terrible. I've been a bit under the weather as well over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, United. It's all reflected. It all goes hand in hand, mate. Two defeats in the last three. Very lackluster performances. I didn't think we created a great deal either, which is the real frustrating thing. The only bright spot for me against Forest was probably Garnacho.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only club that has had a worse Christmas than Manchester United is probably Arsenal. Um,
Happy
th-
days. The one silver lining.
they've had even less points accumulated than us over the Christmas period, which will come as a surprise to many people. But yeah, that's two defeats in three for United over the Christmas period, which surprises absolutely no one. Our 14th defeat of the season, our ninth in the league. Um, we have got 18 games left in the Premier League. I could see a scenario we could lose 10 of those. That's how bad we are, 9 or 10. Um, and unless we do some sensational business in the January market, or there is a change of manager and we get a new manager bounce, yeah, I can easily see us, losing half our games between now and the end of the season, and that's going to leave us probably finishing about ninth or 10th in the league. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how horrendous we are at the moment. That's why I never get excited when we get results like we did against Aston Villa, because I know the next game will be a defeat. So, Brush, it really is depressing at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, even going back before the Villa game, obviously the whole week was disastrous. The West Ham game, when we really look at it, yeah, we didn't really deserve anything from that one, did we? Um, and Kobe Mainu, I know we've mentioned how mature he is for his age, but you do have to remember his actual age. And young players do make mistakes, and it was highlighted in that game. And then in the game since, I just feel like he's been isolated as well. He needs help in that midfield, especially against Forest. The other day we saw it. It's so hard when he's there by himself.
Well, that takes me on to some of the managerial decisions at Forest. And the first one that I have to complain about is the fact that Garnacho excelled on the right against Aston Villa,
Yeah,
and then he was moved back to the left against Forest. And when Garnacho got that assist against Forest, where was he on the pitch? He was on the right.
yeah.
This was all to accommodate Anthony, because Hoyland was ill and not available. To me, I would have either played. I would have stuck with Garnacho on the right and played Anthony on the left, or else played McTominay up front and Rashford on the left and Garnacho on the right. I
I
just think,
probably would have gone for Rashford on the left, Carl, because obviously, his struggles this season are widely documented. But the best performance we've seen in recent weeks was when he was on the left assisting Garnacho against Aston Villa. So you'd
Yeah,
think you'd want to keep it the same so he could, you know, build some kind of momentum.
yeah. What I would have done is make as few changes as possible from the Villa game. That was probably one of our best performances of the season, and he changes it up. It's just so infuriating. So yeah, I would have stuck with Rashford on the left and Garnacho on the right, and probably just played McTominay up front. And I thought we kept hearing at halftime that McTominay was going through a rigorous warm up routine, which meant he was probably coming on at the break. And I just assumed that he's going to take Anthony off here and put McTominay down the middle and switch Rashford to the left and Garnacho right. But what he did is take off Kobe Manu, which was a disastrous decision
Totally
because
unbalanced things.
yeah, because McTominay is not a defensive midfielder, and once
No.
again we conceded two goals from cutbacks,
Yep.
and the midfielder in the middle was not being marked at all, and you could definitely make the case that it was McTominay's job to mark, definitely Morgan Gibbs White. Um, yeah, how many we've conceded so many goals from cutbacks this season. It's just the same goal we concede every week, and that
It's
is also
ridiculous,
infuriating.
isn't it? Yeah, yeah. And from those angles as well, with the defender in the way as well, the keeper obviously sees it late as well. And we've got someone in goal who, you're going to try your luck against him. As long as you get it on target, you've got a chance.
Yeah, and Matt Turner is even worse than Onana, from what
Yeah,
I seen in that 90 minutes, and we did not take advantage of that.
we
His
really didn't. I think, well, Dallo was very unlucky, wasn't he? I think he hit the bar. There was that one random shot from Bruno that took a bounce.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Turner's distribution is the worst I've seen all season, and I've watched many games in the Premier League and Europe this season,
Hmm.
and I've never seen anything like it. We took advantage of it with the Rashford goal assisted by Garnacho. It was lovely interception from Garnacho, stretching to reach the ball and then able to have the vision to pick out Rashford in space, and Rashford tucked it away nicely. But we had so many other opportunities, like you mentioned. I think
But
Dallo
even with that, Carl, like as nice a finish as it was, we capitalized on a mistake. We never really created anything for ourselves.
no, I have to say the first half was one of the most dire halves of football I've watched
Yeah,
all
yeah, it was
season.
absolutely atrocious. Like honestly, I'm sure you agree as well. Like if we weren't fans of the club, that's not a match that either of us would have been willingly watching.
Yeah, I'm sure all the neutrals turned off. Turned off after about
Yeah,
30.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I was tired watching it.
Yeah, it was brutal. There's no other way of describing it. But yeah, you mentioned Dallo hit the post from the edge of the area. That was a
Yeah.
great strike. Unlucky that that didn't go in. But yeah, Dallo was culpable for the goal as well. Olanga,
Hmm.
he's just backing off Olanga and not putting the tackle in and allowing him to. And then McTominay comes across to double up to help him out, but then leaves Morgan Gibbs an acres of space to shoot
Yeah.
from the edge of the area. This is just a common theme at United, not picking up runs from midfield, and it's just a easy cutback and then a slot into the corner. And yeah, I somebody made a compilation video of all
Hmm.
those goals we conceded this season against Arsenal, Brighton, Bayern, Galatasaray, Copenhagen, Forest. Yeah, there's been so many games that we've conceded that goal, and it's what are the coaches doing on the training ground if they can't sort this out? But like I say, McTominay for Manu was a huge mistake in my opinion. Totally unbalanced the midfield. I mean, we made our minds up 3 years ago that McTominay couldn't play as a number six, and yet Ten Hag is still persistent with that. His biggest asset is his threat in the opposition's penalty box, and he brings him on to play him as a number six when we needed a goal. I just don't understand what the manager's doing anymore. Do you?
Yeah, it's very confusing, isn't it? Yeah, lack of ideas, naivety, stubbornness. Yeah, like you say with McTominay, for me, he can only be used as an impact sub and further forward. When you're looking for a goal, that's the guy you want to stick up there. A bit like what Jose used to do with Fellaini when we go route one.
Yeah, I was just about to mention Flynn. That's what McTominay should be now.
Yeah,
Should not be coming on to change the game in midfield. Um,
he
yeah,
shouldn't. And this is the thing: how many managers has he survived now? When is it going to stop?
Yeah, like this talk of Varane's contract is not being extended, whereas
Mm.
Lindelof's is. I'd be hugely concerned if Lindelof's going to outlast Varane at this club, because this is just a common theme where the players that need to go the most survive the longest. And I'm just about fed up with it now. We're constantly going round in circles. And
It's an interesting one, that one, Carl, because obviously, like with Lindelof, I mean, yeah, it's a 1 year extension, but we see him as nothing more than a rotation option at this stage, right? And that's all he'll ever be at United. Regarding Varane, the 350 grand a week he's on is a huge concern. So for that reason, I probably would have chosen to move on from him in the summer, but I would have preferred to sell him opposed to lose him for free. I don't think we're in a position to just, take a loss on any player. Net spend, we've spoken about that countless times, and how United just don't get anything in return for their players, and it's a disgrace, and it needs to stop. And we've now put ourselves in a position where I think the club have an option to extend his contract, but then it's on the current terms. So if we extend, it will be on 350 a week, I believe. And they're probably reluctant to do that. So they'll probably do that thing that they did with the hair last season, where they try and renegotiate a new deal but on lesser wages.
Samuel Luckhurst is reporting this morning that Varane feels as if he's being forced out of the club.
Yeah,
And that's it does seem that way. Yeah, they want to get those wages off the books probably. What what
yes.
happens if Varane leaves and then we still don't find a buyer for Lindelof and he sticks around for another year? And I don't even think he's good enough to be a rotational option. He's had a dreadful season himself. He was getting a few plaudits at the back.
And this is the other thing, Carl. He's 29, going on 30. So honestly, I don't think that extension is so that we can sell him on. I think this club will just keep him and then release him for free next year, maybe.
Oh, see that that policy just ain't working, and
No, it isn't.
that's the same old. Rewarding.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, obviously now we've seen some. Well, we're starting to see some change with Sir Jim and Ineos coming in. So we're gonna have to keep a keen eye on it and to see if there are any changes that happen now. But yeah, if a player the caliber of Varane is off the books and we do release him in the summer for free, then I'm expecting a big name signing or like a significant centre half to come in, not just anybody.
Yeah, that has to happen. But I don't mind if the likes of Varane and Casemiro are sold to get them off the books. But I do
Yes.
mind it if Maguire, McTominay, and Lindelof stay for another year, and those two quality individuals leave. That would just infuriate me.
I mean, on paper, I know that looks, crazy, and I understand that. And from a footballing point of view as well, it's crazy. But the thing is, to operate as a business as well, you have to start by sacrificing your highest earners in order to give yourself the room to rebuild. So I can see the logic in wanting to get rid of the high earners who are over the age of 30. The likes of McTominay, yeah, they're bench fodder. They're probably not on that higher wages. So I think that's how he survives time and time again.
Yeah, and he should have been sold to West Ham for 30 million in the summer.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping that the goals that he's got this season will keep his price tag pretty high in the
Mm.
30 to 40 zone, and we can move him on. Because, like I said, we struggle to get transfer fees. We're going to make a 25 million loss on Van der Beek, who has joined Frankfurt today.
Frankfurt, yeah.
Yeah. So McTominay has a chance to actually recoup a big fee because we paid nothing for him, obviously. If he got
Yeah.
30 to 40 to million, that would be a great profit to have and to add to the bank for the transfer kitty in the summer as well. Um, so just coming back to the game, the one bright spark I felt for United was Amad Diallo's appearance in the second half. I thought he played really, really well. I mean, I was going to say he was much better than Anthony, but that wouldn't be too hard. Um, and for me, it would be nice to see Diallo get an opportunity to start in the Wigan game in the FA Cup. Would you go along with that, Brush?
Yeah, I would. I would go along with that. Seeing him in training as well, I think it was really refreshing just to see somebody take the ball on the outside and use both feet as well. But again, judging by what this manager has done with Palestri, I have my doubts as to whether he would get his chance or not.
Well, he obviously values Diallo more than Plestri. The fact that Plestri didn't play a single second against Forest and Diallo came on after 54 minutes, which surprised me. And he had a really positive impact. I mean, anyone is better than Anthony at the moment. He has been a woeful signing. Um, £85 million for such a limited player. And yeah, I think we just become a laughing stock with the money that we've wasted down the years. And Ten Hag does have to take some of the responsibility for signing Anthony, obviously because he played under him at Ajax. And now he was right to bring in Martinez, but Anthony, we do have to question that. And another reason why it looks so bad is that two Ajax players who played under Ten Hag are at West Ham and excelling. Is it Edison Alvarez and Mohamed Kudus? They're doing great things at West Ham. I think one of them scored against us. So they've got better value for money for the players that they signed from Ajax. So that's a really bad look on Ten Hag as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I will say is obviously he's not the one negotiating the fees. So whilst he recommends the players that he wants, the club are responsible for that. And at the time, we spoke about Anthony being, us paying double what he's worth. And even with Martinez, to be honest, that deal could have got done sooner and cheaper had we acted, but we didn't. Um, and obviously, if they hit the ground running, then the price tag becomes less of an issue. It's just that it's not happened too often for us, unfortunately.
But like I've said, once United went as high as £85 million, if I was the manager, I would have said no, he's not worth that because if he fails, then it'll come back on me and I'll get the blame for it. And it was obvious that he wasn't worth that kind of money. Even Ajax fans were saying that, and they were just laughing at us basically for paying that kind of fee. And he's actually been even worse than any of us could have anticipated. So it's 0 goals and 0 assists this season. It came up a stat there that he hasn't scored since the Forest away game last season, which was in April. He's played, is it 29 Premier League games since then without a goal. Uh, he hasn't got an assist since May, a match against Wolves, I think it was. Yeah, and he doesn't look like creating anything. Um, uh, you look at him at the ball, he just looks lost when he has the ball. He doesn't know what to do with it. He can't go down the outside and cross it with his right foot. So the defenders just find him very easy to defend against, especially if you double up against him. He just all he does is he does a wee drag back, and then he loses it. It's just it's really hard to watch at the moment, and for the time being, I think Diallo should be given a chance. But in the long term, we need to seriously consider. We're probably going to have to loan him out. Because who's going to pay money for that guy? And if we do manage to get a transfer fee for him, it's going to be a huge loss we're going to have to make on him. So yeah, I just think Ten Hag is. I don't think he's going to last beyond this season, and that's what he's going to be remembered for bringing Anthony to the club for that fee. Um, yeah, we Ten Hag really just look. Did you see him after the Bournemouth defeat at home, just staring into space for about 20 seconds? He just looks lost out there and completely out of ideas. We've already talked about his selections and his tactics and his substitutions against Forest, and that's just been a common theme. Bruce, I don't see a long term future for Ten Hag at this club, especially with new owners coming in. How do you see it, Brush?
Yeah, it's looking quite bleak at the moment, isn't it? I think we'll probably know more in the summer. Um, yeah, with the new guys coming in, like you say, I'm sure they have their own ideas, but we'll still have to wait and see. I'm never really in favor of sacking managers without a proper plan in place. So yeah, that's the thing. There's so many other things still up in the air. Personally, I'll probably leave it till summertime and then reassess the situation and maybe start making contingencies, uh, highlighting the direction you want to go in, and earmarking one or two individuals.
Well, they are doing an audit of the club, Brailsford and Jim Radcliffe. I think Brailsford's going to report his findings back to Radcliffe. Brailsford's been at the last two games, and I think Radcliffe could be at the next one, certainly the next home one anyway. Um, it's it's not looking good for the manager, and we can't pretend that it's got nothing to do with him. Statistically, I think this is the worst season yet post Ferguson. And so many records are tumbling all the time, and
It,
negative records at that.
it's a weird one though, isn't it, Carl? Because obviously, like statistics can be manipulated. Like, because there'll be those that bring up the stat that on record thus far, he's got the highest win percentage out of any new manager. So it's all down to how you break it down.
But what I'm watching is absolute dross week in, week out. I'm
Oh
seeing a
yeah,
team.
absolutely, absolutely. But then that again, it's a culmination of things, isn't it? We've not had the right structure. No manager can be just fully entrusted with identifying the talent and whatnot. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that need fixing. And then, like you say, with the likes of Anthony, um, if you were to cash in, you would make a huge, huge loss. And then not only would you make a huge loss, that player would also then need to be replaced. So would you then spend whatever we recoup from him to try and replace him? And then what are you getting in return? Would it be more of the same or similar?
Well, as long as Ten Hag doesn't have input on who we're replacing Anthony with, then I'm okay. Because I don't trust him anymore. Don't trust his judgment anymore. I'm just about fed up with this manager, to be honest with you. And I know change the manager won't fix everything, but we know change is coming behind the scenes. With Ineos coming into the club with their
I
investment.
think that's the final throw of the dice for me, though, Carl. I think I'd like to see the changes, the structural and the other ones behind the scenes happen. And then if it doesn't work out with Ten Hag, then we say sayonara.
No, I just don't have the patience for that. I don't want to waste another calendar year on this coach. I just don't think he's not even showing any signs at all that he's got something. Um, it's just the like I said, the tactics, the selections, the substitutions are just diabolical, and he's just out of ideas completely. It doesn't look like the dressing room is fully behind him. I would say they probably lost faith in his philosophy, whatever that is. I don't know what that is either. And we are 18 months in. Um, yeah, the number of defeats it really is embarrassing now. We're a laughing stock. Um,
I believe we're the only team in the top 10 with a minus goal difference.
yeah, that's another thing. -5, we're back to that again. I can't even believe we're as high as seventh. That is a surprise. Are we
I
still seventh?
think, well, I think we've played one game more. So depending on other results, I think we could slip down to nine.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're still seventh, 1 point above Brighton, who have played a game less. That's right. Yeah. So Newcastle are within 2 points of us as well. So we could go down to ninth. The biggest humiliation would be that if Chelsea went above us in the next few weeks. Um, what? Yeah, I just don't see the manager surviving a new ownership once they've done their audit. Um, you know, do you see if we were playing? Like we know that Klopp took time to get going at Liverpool. If we were playing, you know, brilliant football, scoring lots of goals and winning most of our games, but we were losing like every 3 or 4 games because we were inconsistent and needed a few. We needed a Van Dijk or a Allison to make us title challengers, but we're nowhere near that. We're not even going to be good enough to qualify for Europe next season. So like if Ten Hag continues to the end of the season like you're anticipating, United are going to finish ninth or 10th in the table, therefore no European football. And no United manager is going to get another season after that, is he?
Yeah, yeah. If things continue like they are currently, then yeah, it is quite bleak. But again, I don't see who comes in and just fixes this. We talk about new manager bounce, but that's what I mean. You're gonna have to let them do the audit, and long term planning is what I would like to see. That's the only thing that can really fix us. So what I wouldn't want is a knee-jerk decision in sacking him without a real plan in place, and then maybe an interim coming in and going through all that nonsense again.
I would say they have either have a plan or they're working on it. I don't think. Ineos are just going to sack him without knowing who the next guy is going to be, like Ed Woodward used to do. I would say they already have a list of managers in mind as a contingency plan, and they might need to use that contingency sooner than they thought. Because could you imagine if he go out of the FA Cup early doors as well? And we've got a big game against Tottenham coming in mid-January. I mean, you can't keep losing football matches. You know, I seen a few people online already calling for Solskjaer to come back as an interim, and then somebody else had suggested Ruud van Nistelrooy as an interim. I was thinking, and then a few other people commented saying, "No, no more Dutch coaches, please, no, we're not going down that road again." Um, Joe Blackman here says, "What about Greenwood?" He says he doesn't want to waste another season on these players, and I agree with that. Many of these players need to be moved on, but we say the same thing every season.
Yeah,
And
with Joe's first comment, I think again that's another big that'll be a big decision for the Ineos guys to make, come the summer on what they do with that whole situation.
yeah, looking how well he's playing in Spain, and he's attracting attention from the big boys in Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, and Atletico. Um, and just I was watching a YouTube video recently called Ollie's Pandemic Raids, and it was during that period where we were playing in empty stadiums and had a long unbeaten run away from home. And Greenwood scoring goals with his right foot and his left foot, getting assists out on that right hand side for the likes of Cavani. And you're thinking, how we could do with him right now if it was just purely down to footballing reasons. We'd have him in the team every day of the week right now, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's down to them what they want to do ultimately. So yeah, that's a big decision for them in the summertime.
Yeah, it's if he with whichever club he ends up at, and it looks like it's going to be um it's going to be United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, or Atletico in the summer, whichever one it is. They're going to get
I
one hell
think
of an asset.
Yeah, I think best case scenario for him is probably, if he's established himself in La Liga, then probably to stay out there and rebuild his career and reputation and all the rest of it. I think if he comes back to the Premier League, he's going to be in for a very tough time in all the stadiums up and down the country.
Yeah, well, I believe he was getting a tough time certainly early on in Spain as well. Some very very sinister chanting, I believe, from um I can't remember which club it was, but yeah, I think they might have been reprimanded by La Liga for it. Um, yeah, it's going to come down to whether United are willing to take the stick that comes with it. And
Also, you know how the media love reporting on this club anyway. So the media scrutiny is intensifying with all things United. So from a PR perspective as well, they probably would want to avoid that, you'd think. But again, these are big decisions, and that's what they're going to have to make.
yeah, it is a big call. Richard Arnold had made his decision on it and then backtracked once he's seen the backlash. Whichever decision Radcliffe makes on this, he should stick with it and have the courage to stick with it, and not backtrack on it if there's you know uh, a bit of disagreement from certain sections of the fan base online. Um, yeah, but like I said, from purely footballing point of view, I'd love to see him in the team, but I know that life is not as simple as that. Um, so Rashford managed to score his third goal of the season against Forest, um, but I have to say I was not impressed by his attitude again. He's not doing much work at all off the ball. Does not look interested. He's not pressing. Doesn't track back obviously. And I just wondering what has happened to the player that was a boyhood United fan who came through the ranks and loves playing for Manchester United. He doesn't look like he's enjoying it anymore, does he?
No, no, when it rains, it pours, like they say. He's not having a good time of it at all. But again, I mean, who is in our squad, this season? I don't think the tactics and the way we set up help either. It's not really conducive to scoring many goals either. So it's very hard when there's no chances creation or anything. And then with Rashford, we know his pros and cons now. And if you're not playing to his strengths, then you're not getting much out of him in return.
Yeah. Um. Now I know he should play on the left, but if he's asked to do a job somewhere else in the team, he should be given his all in that role, and that's what frustrates me. Um. And this is a significant improvement to now in the end of the season. If PSG are still interested and they make us a big offer, then I think we should consider that. I think we've talked about that before on this show. Um, if if he finishes the season on 6 goals, which is um, what is likely going on his form so far, then yeah, if we were offered 80 million for him, then I would take it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, on this current form, I don't know who the hell, gives us 80 million, to be honest. That's the problem. But yeah, when you look at the squad though, Carl, I think in order to make the changes required first and foremost, I think they'll be looking probably at the over 30s, and then work their way down. So that's probably how they'll do it. And then we've given him such a contract that only a handful of clubs around the world can afford him, you know?
Yeah, well, PSG is definitely one of them, and they've had a long-standing interest in him. And I think even if he did finish the season in single figures for goals, his reputation would still command a big transfer fee. He can put that down to Ten Hag's tactics or the club being in disarray as to why he didn't score that many goals this season. He can always point to the fact that he got 30 last season. So I still think he'd be worth an awful lot of money, even if he doesn't significantly improve in the last 5 months of the season. Um, yeah, it's very very depressing at the moment, and I'm going to do some player ratings just to compound that. Um, Andre Onana, I'm going to say 4. Um, Armand Bissaka, I'll say 5. He was jogging back at times, when Nottingham Forest were counter attacking. That was a bit alarming, I must say. Varane very nearly scored an OG, very bizarre own goal. I think come off um, the side of his upper leg and nearly went into the net, but thankfully it didn't. Um, Yeah, it's hard to really critique the centre backs at the moment because they're not being helped by the midfield or the fullbacks really. So I'll just say 5 for Varane. Johnny Evans, I thought had a good game as always, very solid by one of our better performers in recent weeks. So I'll say 6 for Johnny Evans. Diogo Dalot, definitely culpable for the goals. Um, Unlucky not to score, I suppose. But yeah, I'll say 4 for Diogo Dalot. Kobe Manu, I know he didn't have a great game, but was unfortunate to be subbed at half time. Um, Quite often at United, the youngster is always the fall guy when things aren't going well, and I don't always agree with that. Um, so Manu a 5, Christian Eriksen a 5, didn't have anywhere near the same impact in this game as he did against Aston Villa. Surprised he played 90 minutes because we know he doesn't really have the stamina. Well, it's 100 minutes now, Premier League football, so I'm surprised that Eriksen played 100 minutes in this game. Um,
I think that's the problem as well, isn't it, Carl? Because with him, we know you have to manage his minutes, and we saw the quality that he does still have as well this week. But he can't play all the games in quick succession.
yeah, but we're so desperate for bodies in midfield. He's been forced to play in back-to-back games. Um, Bruno Fernandes, one of his better days against Villa, but one of his bad days yesterday. Why did he dummy that cutback? That just failed to a Forest player, and then they scored from the resulting counter attack. If he had actually shot first time there, we could have been 2-1 up rather than 2-1 down. But yeah, he did not have much of an influence on the game aside from that, and was another one. He's too many poor displays at the moment. Um, since he's become captain of the football club, he's probably had his worst 6 months as a player. So 5 for Bruno. Anthony, absolutely atrocious. Um, Lucky to stay on the pitch for 54 minutes, to be honest. So it'd be a 2 for Anthony. Marcus Rashford obviously scored, but didn't have a great game overall, and his commitment and his attitude wasn't fantastic either. So I'll say a 6 for Rashford because he scored, and Amad Diallo definitely gets a 7 for his impact from the bench. I was very pleased with him. Sorry, I missed out Garnacho there. Yeah, Garnacho with another assist. Um, was always seems to be our biggest threat in recently. Um, he should have played on the right rather than the left. That Garnacho really could be the answer to our right wing problems. But it was entirely predictable that he'd move him back to the left once he had to bring Anthony into the team. But so Garnacho probably a 6 as well. Like I said, Diallo was 7. McTominay a 3 for his 45 plus 10 minutes that he played. Like I said, he was culpable for the goals, not picking up his man. Um, as a number 6, the number 10 in the opposite team is your man, and he didn't. We went out to help out Dallo against Alanga and left the man free in the middle, um, and that happened on 2 occasions, was cost us the game. We know he should not be. The manager obviously has to take blame for that because he shouldn't be playing in that position. And Reguilon, like for Bissaka, after 90 minutes, it didn't understand what was that all about. You're chasing the game and bring on a left back. Because Ten Hag does this a lot as well. Um, don't get it. I could see maybe he was going to push Dallo to the right and Reagan on the left, and push them high up the pitch, and hopefully help us create chances. But at that stage of the game, you know Forest are going to be sitting so deep. We're going to be resulting. We're just going to have to just launch balls into the box. So to me, there's no point in making a substitution after 90 minutes to change the game. It's just ridiculous. And on a fullback,
Especially when we don't even have the players to go route one like that to just put balls in to who. There's no
yeah,
focal point.
especially in this game because there was no Hoyland.
Yeah, and it's terrible, isn't it? Because the kid can't catch a break. Because after that wonderful comeback against Aston Villa, I mean we were dreadful that game by the way, but we managed to capitalize on shoddy defending by them. But the way in which we came back on one, and for Hoyland, you saw what it meant to him to get that goal, and then miss the game following and not have a chance to build on that momentum. It's just, yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, he would have been desperate to play in the Forest game after being on such a high after Villa. So it must have been something seriously wrong. But this season we have missed someone through illness or injury 35 times this season now. That's absolutely abysmal. I was asking an Arsenal fan, do you, do you have a problem with illness at your club? Do you find that illness keeps players out on a regular basis? He says almost never. So why every single week at Manchester United are we missing a player or two through illness? Martial's been ill now for 3 weeks. Not sure I even believe that, but it does seem to be a chronic problem at United. Um, are players unwilling to play if they've got a few sniffles? Um, or is it a case of is it the club policy that anyone who might uh, be in a position to infect other people is just left at home? But it doesn't seem to happen at other clubs where they miss a player every game through illness. I mean, it's another really annoying habit that you see at United. What's your thoughts on it, Brush?
Yeah, absolutely. And again with Martial as well, it'll be very interesting to see if he makes it through this January transfer window.
Yeah, I'll be happy to move him on as well. He's on enormous wages too, isn't he? 250 or
Yeah,
something.
250 a week. So we know for a fact he's gone in the summer, but there have been rumors circulating that we could move him on this month.
Yeah. Um, if I could do one piece of business in this January window, it would be to move him on and get a striker in. Yes, hopefully
Yeah,
someone a wee bit better than Veghorst though.
and yeah, any kind of backup striker is imperative. But then we also have to look at the chances created for the striker as well. Yeah, nobody in this team is getting goals. They're just gonna do cardio, just running around in the box.
Yeah, what do we have now? is it our goal tally is abysmal as well. I remember it was 18 goals after 18 games. Um, what now that we've played, if we've played 20 games now, so I think we're up to 22 goals in 20 games. I mean
Yeah,
that is
we've scored 22 and 20, and we've conceded 27.
oh that is like a bottom half team.
Yes, yes. There's not too many teams worse than that, to be honest. Luton have one goal more than us. They've scored 23,
That's sackable defense by itself.
and Luton are 18th in the league. Um, yeah,
Yeah, we are in complete disarray at the moment, and
yeah. Only Sheffield United, Burnley, have scored less than us, I believe. Yeah, and we're tied with Crystal Palace on 22 goals scored.
and Crystal Palace weren't renowned for being great goal scorers. So yeah,
No,
that's
no, yeah, yeah. They've had issues with strikers as well.
it's just where do we go from here?
Mm.
um, yeah, I think we need to do some urgent business in January, and beyond this season, I think we're going to have to we want to bring in a director of football, and we're going to have to replace the manager. Um, I have to say though that I'm not hugely enthusiastic about the prospect of Graham Potter coming in as manager, who's apparently on Ineos's list. Um, there would be some logic in bringing in Dan Ashworth as director of football if they can get him, and bring in Potter to work underneath him because they've worked together brilliantly at Brighton before. But I just don't think, much like Ten Hag, I think is out of his depth, and I think that might be the case for Graham Potter as well. I think he's just too nice a guy to be Manchester United manager, but I think he's a brilliant coach, but I think the job might be too big for him. What's your thoughts on it, Brush?
Yeah, definitely. I think we'd be setting him up for failure. I do rate him as a coach, but I don't think he is what United need. He's a project manager. He's one of those where it's going to take time, and you'd have to back him in all aspects. But yeah, I don't think this is the club where you allow someone that time to grow. He has to go do that somewhere else, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's difficult to know. I think you've mentioned this already. It's difficult to know who we're going to get in as manager at the end of the season. Um, I think everybody's ideal candidate well, most people's ideal candidate would probably be Zinedine Zidane, but I just don't think he wants to manage in England.
I don't think he wants to manage anywhere that isn't France or Real Madrid, to be honest. One interesting name that we did discuss in the not too distant past was Xabi Alonso. And
Mm,
since we talked about him, Carlo Ancelotti has signed a contract extension at Real Madrid. So that's a potential one that I would definitely be looking at if I were them. Looking at up and coming coaches who could perhaps do a job at that next level. I'll be
yeah,
keeping tabs on him.
he's having a fabulous season at Bayer Leverkusen, and the absolute antithesis of us when it comes to goals. They're absolutely banging them in. They're top of the Bundesliga, and they won 6 out of 6 in the Europa League group matches. So yeah, I would. Will wait definitely if he wins the Bundesliga with Bayer Leverkusen and breaks Bayern Munich's 12-year stranglehold on Germany, then he has to be a candidate for big clubs like Manchester United and Real Madrid. So I would, but some fans, like I've mentioned this name before, Alonso, and some fans don't like him because of his Liverpool past. If I'm being honest, I don't give a toss. Matt Busby played for Liverpool and Manchester City, so if we can get the best young coach in Europe, then I'd bring him in. I'm just not interested in trivial things like that. What's your thoughts, Brush?
Yeah, in this modern age, football is a business first and foremost. Unfortunately, whichever way you feel about it, there's no room for tribalism and things of that nature. And like you said, yeah, so Matt Busby spent his career at Liverpool and Man City. So yeah, we can't let things like that get in the way. If the opportunity arises, we need to be in the market for the best, regardless of their history. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think winning the German league is definitely better on your CV than winning the Eredivisie, because Frank de Boer won 4 Eredivisie, Ten Hag has won 3, and we've seen what de Boer has done since he left. Holland and Crystal Palace fans will remind you of that. I think even, I know he only managed 4 games in the Premier League, but he has a 0% win rate in the Premier League. Um, so that's Ten Hag's credentials, what he done in Holland. So he doesn't really have the track record that proves that he can manage Manchester United to the Premier League title, and it's another reason why I don't have faith in he that he can turn this around, even under Jim Radcliffe. So you might feel that I'm being a bit harsh on the manager, but he's not showing anything to me that there's no signs that he can become a great manager in the future. I just don't see it. I think he just looks lost out there. Um,
Yeah, definitely think that's a bit harsh because I mean, before he went to Ajax, they did like miss out on the title. So, it's not like they just kept winning throughout with no change. But obviously, United is a different animal altogether. The level of competition and the tougher league, and there's so many more things to manage. And even at Ajax, it wasn't just him. He had the structure with Overmars and Van der Sar and whatnot. So yeah, it's different. I understand your point that he's out of his depth. Obviously, this is the biggest job he's had in his career to date. But it takes a certain caliber of manager or person to come in to a club of our stature. And this is the thing. This is why if you don't go for experience and someone completely, who's got the CV, who's been there and done it, then you need to be looking at the next up and comers who you think can reach that level. The way we looked at the likes of the Antonio Contes and Jurgen Klopps 10 years ago, because those guys back in 2012, 2011 were making a lot of noise, and we were looking around at them lot and Diego Simeone and these people, and you look at the trajectory and what they've gone on to achieve. That's what we need to be at the forefront of with the next generation, and that's where looking at the likes of the Xabi Alonso may come in handy.
Yeah, but if we got someone like Alonso and we had a world class director of football, then I would be positive in the
I
few
don't
seasons.
even think they need to be world class, mate. Just somebody competent who knows what they're doing. Like it really isn't rocket science. I just think at United we complicate things far more than it needs to be.
Yeah, there's too many promotions from within and people who are not
Yeah,
qualified.
all of that kind of stuff as well. Like there should always be an influx of incomings and outgoings, irrespective of what the squad needs. You need to identify young players. You need to make sure you send out scouts. You need to pick players up on the cheap, put them on minimal contracts. Don't pay the silly wages and then be stuck with them. So there's a lot of simple things that they can do, which after one or two cycles would fix a lot of the problems.
Yeah, Charlotte Junker of the Times reported on Christmas Day, I think it was, that John Murda is going to be moved on by Ineos, and I don't think anybody's going to complain about that, especially after the Jude Bellingham story that was in the Athletic recently. I don't think you'll be shedding any tears either about John Murda leaving the club, Bruce.
Yeah, no, good riddance, good riddance. We need proper structure. Need people competent, and not because they've been around and it's easier to just recruit or offer a position from within.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got Wigan in the FA Cup. Like I said, I would like Diallo to get an opportunity in that game. Um, or continue with Garnacho on the right. Um, yeah, Garnacho's only played 1 game on the right, but that game was very fruitful from his point of view, scoring twice in the game and being our biggest threat on the night. Um, so I'd like to see more of him in that position, but at the same time, I want to see Diallo get an opportunity. And Wigan seems like the perfect game to give him that chance because he looked bright when he came on against Forest. Um, yeah, hopefully Hoyland's available for that game as well. I think this we don't really have much room for rotation because of the amount of injuries that we have. So I could see that being a really strong team in that game. Plus, it's the only competition we can win this season. So I anticipate the United Strongest 11 is going to play that match. And unfortunately, it's a Monday night, which suits absolutely no one because the fans that will be watching at home will have to wait to Monday night for a game, and that'll be 9 days in total between games. And the fans going to the game you know, they'd rather have the game at the weekend. I suppose it's not really much of a travel actually. Now to think about it, Wigan is in Greater Manchester, isn't it? But yeah, it's not ideal to have a game on a Monday night, is it?
No, it's not. The main thing I'm looking forward to is seeing how the goalkeeper gets on. I presume Bayinder's finally going to get a start.
Well, what I was reading a couple of days ago is that Onana wants to delay his departure to AFCON and play in this Wigan game. And I don't think that makes any sense um, because Bienda's going to have to play. If Onana plays against Wigan, then Bienda's going to make his debut against Tottenham, and that makes no sense. He should
That
play in
doesn't
this
make
game.
any sense. He should play against Wigan so we get to see what he's about and so he gets a feel for things before being chucked in at the deep end against Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, Wigan is a perfect game for a goalkeeper to make his debut. But yeah, we really need this guy to turn out to be good. I feel because I don't have much faith in him
I'll
really.
tell you what, Carl, because I've mentioned it to you before. I've not seen him. Recently, somebody posted a compilation clip which came to my attention. Um, yeah, yeah, I didn't like what I saw. It was,
Yeah, we discussed this back in August,
yeah, yeah.
and it could be just all the bad moments in his career put
Yeah,
together.
I'm sure it's it's never nice to judge anyone based on compilations, but what I was saying, I mean, yeah, yeah, I'd be using Tom Heaton if that's what he has to offer.
Yeah, some of those errors were catastrophic, I have to say. And
Oh,
that would just,
so calamitous. I mean, yeah, I'll tell you what, whoever scouted Anana definitely scouted this guy as well.
and that scout should be sacked.
Yeah, at least they're consistent with what they're looking for in their keepers, eh?
Yeah, don't be surprised that in August we have a different number one, and it's neither of those two. It,
I'll tell you what, this month is going to be an interesting one because Dave's still a free agent, right? So I imagine the papers are going to have a field day making links to him with some sort of romantic return on a short term deal.
I just don't think Ten Hag would do it. He probably has too much pride to do that transfer. Um, yeah, I'm surprised that a goalkeeper of his quality hasn't found a club at all, not even in Saudi. Um, but he's actually
Maybe he's just taking a little break as well. Who knows? I know Isco took like 9 months off. I think last January a move to Union Berlin failed to materialize, and then he just took a lot of time off before going to Real Betis. Um,
yeah.
and then he's done really well at Betis.
I have read today that De Gea is actually considered retiring from the game, but and any decision that he makes on his future will be come down to for family reasons as well. Will be involved in it because he has a young kid now, and obviously he's in a relationship with a pop star from Spain. So um, anywhere that he goes will have to come down to family reasons will have to come into it as well. Um, yeah, I don't think he's going to come back to United. I don't see that happening. Um, unless the like Tom Heaton, Bayinda, and Onana are all unavailable, then maybe in that circumstance. But I don't think Ten Hag will go back to De Gea. Um, yeah, because it's not like the Paul Scholes situation where he just retired himself and Fergie brought him back 6 months later because he needed him. D- Ten Hag would basically let De Gea go and wouldn't give him a new contract. Well, he tried to offer him a contract on reduced terms and reduced the terms twice. After agreeing to reduce terms, it then reduced even further.
It
Um,
was all a complete mess, wasn't it? The handling of that situation.
yeah, and if De Gea had any dignity, then he wouldn't accept the offer from United. But then I suppose if the offer was coming from Dave Brailsford or Jim Radcliffe, they might feel differently about it. But I don't think De Gea would want to work under Ten Hag again.
No,
We
I think that chapter's closed now, isn't it? I think it's probably best for all parties if they moved on. But such is the state of our club that I can just see it. I can see the papers and the journalists just itching to write about it.
Yeah, but they need to fill their column inches, and Manchester United is always the go-to for that. But it's 90% shite. So you mentioned Tom Heaton there. He would be my choice because anytime he's featured for United or played against United, I think he's been really good. So I would like, and he was promised the number two role when he first came in under Ollie, and that didn't materialise because um, both Henderson and De Gea stayed. So I would like to see him get an opportunity as well. I wouldn't be against that if it was him who played instead of Bayinda, but because Bayinda was brought in under Ten Hag's watch, then I think he'll be the one. He's the one that's always on the bench, so I think it'll be him. But it makes no sense for Onana to stay for the FA Cup game and then Bayinda make his debut against Tottenham. That's kamikaze stuff. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be ridiculous. I don't understand. Yeah, I wouldn't understand if that were to happen.
But hopefully we get in safely into the fourth round of the FA Cup. If we didn't, then we'll go more than 2 weeks without a game. 3 weeks maybe without a game. No, yeah, about 2.5, I think
Yeah,
actually.
because the only two Premier League games this month, I think, are Tottenham and Wolves is
Well,
right at the end of the month.
Wolves is the 1st of February.
Oh,
Because
oh, okay.
it's on a Thursday night, which is another
Mm.
joke. But yeah, we'll have one FA Cup game, one league game, and then maybe another FA Cup game in January if we get through this Wigan tie. So it's a very strange lack of football, really, considering that I think in December we had 9 games, and now we're going to have a maximum of three in January. It's very odd, that isn't it? But I think what's happening is um, everybody's getting a little bit of a break. There's going to be 5 Premier League games on the 13th, 14th of January, and then then 5 Premier League games on the 20th, 21st of January. So everybody's going to get a weekend off at some stage. So yeah, it's the Premier League have factored that into the calendar now, where it's like a mini winter break. Nothing like what they get in Germany or Spain or France, where they get like 3 weeks off. But it does make sense, I suppose. But I was going to say it's not good from a fan point of view because there's so few games, but I'm quite happy for United not to play at the moment because they keep ruining my weekend. So Brush, it's been a pleasure as always, and hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here. Hopefully, we can be a bit more upbeat the next time.
Yeah, these shows are turning into therapy sessions rather than analyzing United victories. So hopefully the next one we are analyzing a victory and enjoying it. But like I say, every victory at the moment is followed up by a defeat, so I never get too excited about it. So if everyone could please smash a like on the video, subscribe to the podcast, and get more of your comments in, and I will see everyone again following the weekend game.